You know, I want to talk about what they call the housing shortage or something, right? You know what the truth is? There is no housing shortage. None whatsoever. There's a bunch of homeless people because people can't afford to live in these fucking places. There are empty houses everywhere. All over the entire world, man. There are empty houses. And let's talk about the United States. All over the United States. There are entire cities that are abandoned, empty, ghost towns. All over the place. All over the place. Empty houses, empty hospital buildings, empty fucking schoolhouses, empty shopping malls, empty motels. All over the place. Everywhere. There's mansions littering in the countryside all over the place that are totally fucking empty. No one's lived in them for 20 years or 100 fucking years. Some of them, you know. They're everywhere. It's everywhere. There's enough housing for probably, I don't know, 10, 20, 100 billion people or something, probably. But there's like way more houses and apartment buildings than there are people on the face of the earth. Way more. And they just keep building more and more and more. And you know what? Most of these fucking places are just gonna sit empty forever, basically. Because because they won't ever make them affordable for people to live in. Or they won't even put them up for sale. Just build entire neighborhoods of new houses and nobody ever lives in them, basically. Because they're not even for sale. They just built them for no fucking reason, basically. Or like, you know, a lot of what happens is like, for instance, there will be, say, a house. Somebody owns the house and they didn't leave the house to anyone in the will or whatever the fuck, right? Or they leave it to somebody that lives 3 states away and already has their own place or whatever. And then that person just basically abandons the place. Or in some instances, somebody has, you know, had some high paying job and they buy a house and then they have some kind of issue. They don't feel comfortable with the house or something and they just leave and they just abandon the place. And the place just gets left empty basically for fucking ever. The bank ends up owning it or something and they don't sell it. They don't care. There's places all over the fucking place. It's not a fucking problem of a housing shortage. There is no housing shortage. I mean, you could bet there's probably enough housing in like one state already to where you could probably move almost the entire population of the entire planet to like one fucking state. And they would fucking all have, you know, houses sitting empty ready for them. Like, it's so far from being it's so far from a housing shortage, it's not even funny. But we're told that there's this housing shortage, you know. But it's a lie. There is no housing shortage. What there is a compassion shortage. There's a shortage of humanity and compassion and decency. That's what there's a fucking shortage of. We got this like small group of obscenely wealthy people that own like everything. And they don't give a shit if you freeze to death, starve on the street. They don't care about the guy sleeping in the bush in a tent or the guy sleeping under the bridge. In fact, the only kind of care they might have about that guy is they want that guy to be hauled the fuck away so they don't have to look at him. You know, that's the only kind of care that they have. And it's sickening. They tell you there's a housing shortage and people just believe this shit. It's easy to look, you know, and to see that that's not true. There's not a housing shortage. There's a compassion shortage. There's a humanity shortage. That's what the fuck there is. There's, I mean, you could probably house all the homeless and they could all have their own fucking mansion that otherwise would just sit there fucking rotting forever, you know? Hell, you could even make it so the people with money can feel happy about that instead of putting the homeless people in mansions. Give the mansions to the people who have houses, and give the houses they don't need anymore to the fucking homeless. How about that? There, then you rich fuckers can have your mansions, and the other people can have a fucking home. How about that? But no, we can't do that. Can't have that. People are fucking Slava Ukraine or whatever the fuck to like just pushing endless wars and creating, so many people hard at work to create all this disaster that we see in the world, man. It's sick, man. But to dream of a world where there's some fucking decency, the dream of it, People sit around in life here dreaming of heaven, hoping that when you die, you get to go to a better place. And we imagine something like hell, How could you imagine there to be a place that's fucking more screwed up than this? How could there be a place that's worse than this place? Like, that would I mean, if the devil has like a place in hell, he's got to be like just keeping a close eye on the earth, taking fucking notes. It's like, hell, that's a perfect design. I should copy that. Right? I shall create a place so evil. We'll make it so there's mansions all over the place, but no one can afford to live in them. Right? Like, no one can afford to have a place to live. Everyone in hell shall be homeless. Ha 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 ha. Except for my minions. Ha 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 ha. We shall sit on our mansions on the hillside and watch as everyone starves. Ha 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 ha. Like, what the It's just so fucked up, man. It's so fucked up. Like, I don't even know. I think there isn't there. Yeah, there's like, just for instance, I think I've mentioned this before. I don't remember exactly how many. I don't want to get the numbers wrong, so I'll err on the low side. But I don't remember, because I don't remember if it was a million people or 100 million. So that's quite a big difference, right? Let's say it was a million. There's a city in Africa with like skyscrapers and all these apartment buildings and everything. Big city that they built in Africa that is equipped to house, let's say it was a million people. Because I can't remember if it was a million or if it was like 100 million. It's a big difference, But like, it's just sitting there empty was the point. It's sitting there empty while there's like tons of people in Africa that are like living in horrible abject poverty and can barely even find food and shit. And there's just this big fucking giant empty city they just built for the hell of it, right? It's like there's shit like that everywhere. There's a city somewhere, I forget where exactly, where the like a whole basically a whole city of Disney castles was built. That's just an example like of the kind of weird stuff that that's just abandoned, empty, freaking Disney castles. And there's all these ghost towns and shit. Like, there's tons of places where there's like entire cities that are just completely abandoned. I mean, you got the shopping mall, the gas station, the doctor's office, the movie theater, the community swimming pool, the airport, the houses, the motels, all that shit. Just the hospital, the library, restaurant, all that shit. Just completely abandoned, empty. Oh, but there's a housing shortage. Yeah, right. It's fucking ridiculous. And so many people like they don't even look into this shit, so they're dumb enough to believe it. They believe that there really is a housing shortage. Okay, well, I can't find housing. Well, no shit, you can't find housing because nobody will let you live in the fucking shit unless you're a goddamn millionaire. It's like I'm telling you, dude. If the government, if anyone in position of power in the world actually gave a shit about people, they could end homelessness in the blink of an eye. Blink of an eye. You know? Or at least vastly, vastly improve the quality of life for everyone who's homeless. I mean, for instance, here's a crazy thought. Why don't you leave them the fuck alone and let them make something to live in? Let a person go find a field somewhere and make a cabin and make a home and have a farm and let a person park their goddamn bus in some place in the woods in the field or something and live in the goddamn thing and leave them the fuck alone. Stop hauling away everyone's campers and RVs. Stop charging people fucking $800 a month to have a place to park their fucking camper. Stop fucking people up the ass. Stop requiring that everyone be approved to live somewhere. You have to be up to our standards to be allowed to live. Jesus, man. And people don't bitch about the homeless having like drug and alcohol problems. Like, well, fuck you. Like, see how you like fucking being constantly chased around for money and fucking not even having a goddamn decent place to sleep or fucking place to even properly heat up your goddamn food. See how you fucking like it, right? See how sober you want to fucking be. You just got this society that's just like beating you over the head, trying to force you to conform. Conform, conform, conform. Live the way we like. Live the way we want you to live. Be our slave. Be a good slave. Oh, you don't want to be a slave? Well, fuck you then. Just. That was so fucked up, man. I mean, it's fucking like people identify with their job, like that's their identity. I'm a tax man. I'm an accountant. I'm a plumber. I'm a this. I'm a that. You know. Good for you. You're a respectable person. Because you do something that you don't want to do in order to make money. Money makes you special. Give him a pat on the head. Good boy. Good boy. Good dog. Have a biscuit. God, if they could, you'd think they'd be having. You'd have. You know, the society would make the goddamn squirrels work at McDonald's or something to have to pay rent to live in a hole somewhere. Oh, you think you're gonna live in that tree rent free, boy? You see a squirrel in like a stupid fucking like McDonald's uniform or something. Hi. Would you like fries with that? I'm sorry, squirrel, the rent went up on your tree. It's gonna be $3,000 a month now. Oh, but you have to be making $9,000. You can't prove you're making $9,000. Well, fuck you, squirrel. Get out. The hell out of the tree. Are you trying to live under that stump there? Get out of there, squirrel. Get. Sick the dogs on him. Yeah, right. It's the fucking world we're in, man. Like. Damn. Gonna have to become a lawyer, squirrel. Want to afford to rent our tree. Jesus. Not so sure what the hell to do. I don't know, it gets fucking old, man. I'm bitching about my living situation, but goddamn, people have it a lot worse. And I suppose I could in the future if I don't figure something out. But I don't see a fucking way out. I don't see a path to freedom, to any kind of decent life. Certainly not alone. Maybe if I had a wife or something, we'd work together and pool our resources and things. But yeah, I never understood. I can kind of understand to some extent what I mean. I don't get how they do it though. Like people that are homeless and shit. It fucking sucks horribly. Like, man, I'm not happy with my situation. I'm living in a fucking motel. I got running water, I got a mini fridge and a microwave and a TV. Imagine like living in a fucking tent, having somebody come along trying to chase you away all the time. People robbing your shit when you leave the tent behind. You can't even leave the tent in a bush somewhere without worrying somebody's gonna steal everything you own. Jesus. See people living in fucking camp trailers and like living in RVs and stuff. And people just chase them away, chase them away. You gotta move this, you gotta move this. You don't move it immediately. They get everything they own just taken from them and hauled to the dump. And then you have like the ultimate slumlords. These are people that in places like California and probably all over the country that like will charge a person $800 a month or more or whatever to live in their beat up old camp trailer or something on the side of the street. And of course they have to move it all the time. Shit with like rats scurrying around and giant bugs and everything. Like, ah, yeah, pay up. Fuck, man. Like it's a dude. What's his channel called? Network One's. I don't remember. Network something. Brian or whatever. Guy's working like 2 fucking jobs. He's working janitorial and then driving fucking Uber or whatever, or a taxi or something. I don't remember exactly. Yeah, I think Uber or something. And the dude's like living in a fucking beat up like shitty camp trailer. It's just like ratty piece of shit on the side of the road, getting fucking harassed and bullied constantly by everybody. And his own fucking family's like fucking him over too. Like, yeah, sounds about right. He was on the news back like 10, 15 years ago because, yeah, they interviewed him or something on the news because he'd been looking for a job for like fucking more than 5 years or something and no one would hire him. So he actually got on the news because they're like, oh, is that jeez. It's like Network 126 or some shit like that. Yeah. And there was this dude, used to live in Oregon. I never met the guy. He was this big time, conspiracy theorist guy. He actually had I think like a cable access show or something that he did. Alex Ansary or something, right? He used to live up in Portland. Actually lived in the same place with my sister, actually. And like, no, but this dude, like, he was constant, steady working. Like I said, obviously must have had some money. He was able to do broadcast on like cable access or whatever. So had a bunch of people, but like even him, I think he probably had some kind of college degree and fucking constantly working and that guy, I think, I don't know. Last I saw, it seemed like he had managed to get some kind of a off-grid homestead or something. But like for many, many years, that guy was like roughing it, living in some beat-up camp trailer because he couldn't hardly get in it anywhere for years and years. And the dude had money, but he couldn't fucking get in anywhere, I think he's like authored books and made a bunch of documentaries and all this kind of shit, And I mean, there's people that are like authors and made documentaries, they made movies and things like that, and they can't afford to even rent a fucking apartment, People living on the streets that have numerous college degrees. There's people living on the street with 3 master's degrees. Some of the people, There's people on the street that were like college professors, lawyers, doctors, people that used to be multi-millionaires and stuff that are living on the street now because they can't afford to fucking live. They're just getting robbed blind constantly. And I mean, like I said, a place I used to rent, paid like $600 a month for this basically rat hole with a bunch of bugs. And there was people living in the same place that were like the college professor, you know, liberal college professor, and there's like optometrists and fucking people that were, you know, like software engineers and dude that worked at like Hewlett Packard, you know. And they couldn't afford to fucking get a better place, you know. Like, basically it would come to a situation where if you didn't buy a house like 15, 20 fucking years ago, or it's like you're fucked unless you're a multi-millionaire or something. Unless you're making at least $60,000 a year. Pretty damn close to it. You can't fucking afford to live. There's probably a lot of people that are like nurses that work at hospitals and stuff that live in a fucking camp trailer or a motel because they can't afford fucking housing. They can't afford an apartment. They can't afford a fucking, you know, they wouldn't be approved to rent an apartment because they don't make enough money, you know. There's people that are homeless that have 2 fucking jobs, man. 2. You know, tons of people homeless, living on the street. They got 2 fucking jobs. They're busting their ass all day to come home to sleep in some camp trailer that if they don't fucking keep moving it every 2 seconds, they'll get stolen from them and everything they own will be gone. You know? Housing fucking shortage my ass. I mean, I shit you not, man, there are mansions. I mentioned the mansions because that's just one example. It's like a big example of how, like, there's nothing even close to a housing shortage. I mean, like I said, man, I'm not certain of this. I can't necessarily prove it, maybe without doing a whole lot more research or something, but from what I've seen, all the videos of people, the different mansions that people have, you know, videotaped themselves just walking into these empty abandoned mansions and things. And then from what I've seen when I've just looked out of curiosity on like Zillow and Redfin and things like that, and looked at the listings and things, like there's mansions all over the fucking place that are just empty and abandoned. In many cases, no one's lived there for 50 years, you know, 20 years, 50 years, you know. Some of them have been abandoned for over 100 years. Giant fucking, like, there's mansions that are so fucking huge and luxurious that, like, even billionaires wouldn't fucking touch them because to have them restored, because it would be so expensive, and it would be so expensive in taxes to even try to live there, that, you know, even like billionaires and stuff are like, nope, I'm not gonna try to live there, that's too fucking expensive, you know. And these places just sit there and, you know, until the roof starts to leak and the fucking thing caves in, or, you know, whatever. End up with like rats and squirrels and bugs living in them. Like, no people though, because so you can't have a person there. You chase the fuck out, right? God damn. It just it's super depressing, man. And just to know this stuff and then to look at the world and know that like it could be so much fucking better for everyone. Like there's like this attitude that people have of just like they want you to suffer. Like they suffer, you know. They want you to suffer, you know. And it's just it's fucked up though. It's just the amount of control freaks and the amount of bureaucracy that's built into everything. I mean, like if you wanted to end homelessness, like you know one thing that you could do easily if you had some position of authority that could drastically reduce the amount of homeless people? Get rid of the fucking requirements that say you have to make 3 times the rent to be able to rent the damn place. Let people pay as they can, right? Let people fucking move into the goddamn place, you know, and don't say that they have to make 3 times the rent to be approved. Just that right there. And you'd have people that are, you know, working some minimum wage job or that have some savings or whatever. I mean, like when I started fucking looking for a place to live back in like June or July or whatever, you know, I had like almost $50,000 in savings. Like, no, I didn't have a job, but what the fuck does somebody care? Like, I could have been renting a house the whole time and I would have so many extra thousands of dollars left than I do now if I had just been renting a house the whole time. And if I'd been renting a house the whole time somewhere, well, maybe I would have had a more stationary position and I would have had a more stable fucking living situation and I could have gone out and got a job and kept the bills paid perpetually forever, maybe. But no. No, I'm not allowed. Because I don't meet the rental requirements or whatever. It's fucking stupid, man. Oh no, you can't rent this house for $1,200 a month. You don't meet our rental requirements. But oh, you can go stay in the motel and pay twice that much. What the fuck? I mean, seriously, when I first started looking, I was seeing fucking like houses for rent for $1,200 a month. I could have, I could have kept the bills paid in a place like that for probably 2 or 3 years or something without having to do jack shit. I could have kept the bills paid with just a part-time minimum wage job or something probably. But no, can't do that. Oh, you're not allowed to rent this because you don't have rental requirements. Fuck, man. Yeah, I remember this. I was hanging out with this girl, man, and I stayed at her apartment numerous times, and I checked with her apartment manager, and it turned out like the places that they were renting out there were like $1,800 a month. Like $1,800. So you'd have to be making like what 5,000, 6,000. Let me see, 1,800 times 6, 5,400 a month. Yeah, to be approved. So yeah, you'd have to be making what's that? $5,400 a month, 34,000 plus 10, 18. 1800 and 636. So yeah, you'd have to be making like almost $60,000 a year, basically, at least, just to even be approved. And that's the way it is almost everywhere. But in the meantime, in some places, there are houses for rent for $1,200, but of course you have to be making 3 times that every month to be approved to rent the fucking thing. So, no, you can't just barely scrape by and fucking make rent. No, you have to make a shitload, or they won't even let you rent the damn thing. No, you're not even like allowed to rent places. Even if you have the money, you can have $50,000 in your bank or $100,000 in your bank account, and you could walk up to some fucking rental place and say, "Hey, I see you've got a place here for $1,200 a month. Take my money." And they'll say, "No, not approved. Don't meet our requirements." You know, you get rid of that. Get rid of the fucking rental requirement bullshit, and you would see almost instantly like half of the people that are homeless and living in motels would have homes in the blink of an eye. You know? So where there used to be like 1,000 people living in the Walmart parking lot or something, now there'd be like only a couple hundred because the rest of them all had fucking houses or apartments all of a sudden. You know? And people will say you're fucking lazy. Oh, you don't just get a job, you lazy bum. Like, well, how fucking motivated would you be to get a goddamn job if you knew that you work all fucking day and you still wouldn't be able to even be allowed to rent a fucking place? You can't even have a home. You're not allowed to have a home. We don't care if you work all day, fucking 8-10 hours a fucking day, 5 days a week. You can't have a fucking home. Fuck you, right? Like, see how goddamn all fired up you are to go get a fucking job when you see that, you know? And I think a lot of people don't see this shit. They don't notice because, like, they remember how things used to be, I think. Or they got into some position where they have a home or they have an apartment that they got into like 15, 20 years ago or something. And they are able to keep the bills paid and scrape by, so they feel like everything's fine in the world. Because they don't know what it's like to be fucking somebody just trying to start out from the beginning. You know? Because when they started out from the beginning, everything was 1,000 times easier. It cost way less money. And there weren't all these bullshit requirements. So when they took their money to the fucking apartment complex or to the fucking house place or whatever, the person said, okay, handed them a set of keys, took their money, and they walked in and they fucking sat down in their new living room in their new house that they have, or their apartment or whatever. So they think everything's hunky-dory because that's how it worked for them. It was just great for them when they did it. It's kind of hard to understand how, like, seniors and things can't get a place, though. I'm even seeing that, man. I'm seeing fucking senior citizens that can't even get into a goddamn place. I've seen fucking houses and mobile homes sell for $10,000, $12,000. And I've tried to call places, like a bunch of these different things, where there's, when I'll see every now and then I'll see a mobile home for sale for $4,000 or $8,000 or something. And I'll try to get a hold of them and say, oh, sorry, that's sold already. Or they have all this bullshit restrictions and requirements, and you gotta get the park approval and all this other bullshit. It's just so much fucking red tape to try and go through to get anything, you know? If you try calling to ask about a place that's for sale or whatever, you try to talk to a real estate agent, talk to, you know, whatever, they don't know any answers to anything. You'd be like, does it have a toilet? I don't know. Is there a roof on it? I don't know. Does it have a septic tank? I don't know. Does the electricity work? I don't know. Gee, thanks. You're so super helpful. Jesus. And to even get a hold of someone, like a real estate agent or somebody who's trying to sell the place or an apartment, like to even get a hold of them, it's like trying to call Elvis on the phone or something, like, or it's like you're trying to, I don't know, call a famous movie star. There's so many layers of bullshit between you and this person that you can't even hardly can't even hardly get a conversation. And if you do get a conversation, you try asking them any questions, they don't know the answer to any of them because they don't know anything about the place they're selling or renting or whatever. I don't know how the fuck do these people even get these jobs, man? All these people that have jobs that are supposed to be the experts in their field or whatever, and they are like dumber than a box of rocks. They don't know anything about their own fucking job. But somehow they have the job and they keep the job and they get well paid and they just go throughout their life and everything's fine. You know, sunshine and all life is sunshine and roses for them, man. They get some job that they don't know anything about. They're terrible at their job, but they keep that job forever. And they get well paid and they go try to rent a place and fucking, here you go, here's the keys. You know? It's just like there's two sets of rules or something. It's like if you're in the club or you're a good NPC or something, it's like life just is like sunshine and roses, you know, raining gold and candy from the skies for you or whatever. But if you're a conscious, thinking individual or something that doesn't blend in with the system or whatever, you're just like tied to the train tracks, basically. It's just fuck, man. It's so weird, man, that we live in a world where so many people like talk about how concerned, like, take vegetarians for instance, right? They don't want to eat meat because they think it's so wrong and it's terrible and the animals are treated bad and love the animals, and people are so concerned about the fucking animals that a vast portion of the population won't even eat a hamburger. But people care so little about other human beings that they let fucking millions or hundreds of millions of people freeze and starve to death and be homeless on the fucking street, basically. When there's housing literally everywhere. Ugh. I don't know, man. It's fucking sad, man. It's fucking sad. And especially when I'm kind of coming at it from a perspective of someone who could very well end up in that sort of situation where I could be homeless or something. Like, as it is right now, man, I think I've only maybe had a home cooked meal like once in the last like year. Almost everything I've eaten has been like taken out of a microwave or in some little package or something like that. Because I used to cook fucking, pork chops and hamburgers and mashed potatoes and I'd make fucking big awesome meals, make barbecued chicken. I can't tell you, man. I had barbecued chicken. I was over in like Sweet Home or whatever, and I stopped at the grocery store and I saw they had barbecued chicken. I bought like a few pieces of barbecued chicken, man, and it was so good. It was like you wouldn't fucking believe how good that shit was to me because I hadn't had barbecued chicken in like a year. I used to cook barbecue. I used to cook a bunch of barbecued chicken like damn near every week, at least a couple times a month. I make fucking barbecued chicken, mashed potatoes and gravy, or French fries or something with them. Make a vegetable, heat up some corn or something. Or corn on the cob. It's fucking drenched in butter, salt. Oh, I'd make freaking sweet potatoes or squash, etc. Alright, get squash and I'd cut that into like 2 or 3 or 4 sections, whatever many sections, depending on the size. And then I make a bunch of cuts in it, and then just put a whole bunch of butter, like pieces of butter all around, and then stick that in the oven. Let the butter melt into the thing. It'd be so soft, you'd take a fork to it and like just so good. Butter and fucking salt, pepper. Mm. I make fucking steaks, pork chops, spices and onions, and I'd make these roasts and stuff with little cut up potatoes and pork chops and spices and cook some squash or something with it, or you can take like zucchini, cut it up into a bunch of thin sections and drench it in butter and just like fry it up in a pan with like oil and onions and use a crock pot and make some beans and make a soup. Make all kinds of shit, man. Now the best I get is if I get some coupons or something, maybe pick up a cheap pizza from Little Caesars, or get some sandwiches from Subway or something. Pick up some hamburgers from Carl's Jr. or something. God, you notice how the portions of fries are so much smaller than they used to be? Everywhere you go, and the burgers are smaller too. Everything's smaller. Like, everywhere. Like, for instance, like if you get a Western bacon cheeseburger or something from, say, Burger King or something, you see how tiny those patties are now? Versus like what they were just like 10 years ago. But, man. God, just like 3 years ago, like KFC, for instance, just like 3, 4 years ago or something, was like 1/3 less expensive. It was like $20 for 8-piece chicken dinner with everything. Now it's like 30 something dollars. Unless you have a coupon. But I mean, 33% fucking price increase in just a couple of years. And I've noticed that sort of price increase on things just over the course of like a single week this year. Somehow so many people don't seem to even notice though. It's just so sad to see all these fucking problems and you have all these loudmouth politicians talking about do this and do that. And they'll say the most horrible shit like imaginable and people just sit there and go, oh, that sounds like a good idea. Like, damn, man. And you have to use this fucking paper fiat shit because I mean, if I walked into most places, like if I wanted to go buy something or something, if I pulled out some silver to try to hand to them, or even gold or something, probably they'd say, oh, no, we want your, they want the pieces of paper. You see that guy Mark Dice used to make a bunch of videos. He'd go out and like with like an ounce of fucking gold in his hand and try to like, oh hey, can I trade you this gold for that candy bar or that bottle of water? They'd be like, no. He tried to pay for a 99-cent taco with an ounce of gold, and they're like, oh, you just have the dollars? Like, really? I don't know what the hell to do, man. We need a fucking miracle, man. We need a goddamn miracle. We need like God to come down from the fucking heavens and save the day or something, Fucking benevolent aliens or something to show up and, some kind of shit, right? Because things are so fucking screwed up here that it's like beyond repair, and the people are so absolutely like complacent and obedient and like ignorant of everything going on in the world that it's like it doesn't look like there's any hope for humanity basically. It's like a herd of cattle being just herded into a slaughterhouse and just moo, you know God, I don't know, just frustrating. All right, that's enough.